Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
So that is whenever you work with a Spring Boot, we have a theme leaf as a UI or the UI template, which is for the Spring Boot application. Or we can configure only for the Spring also. So that can be configured for any kind of application because it's a theme leaf, which is a modern server-side Java template engine for both web and standalone environment. So that is here for with the Spring Boot, we are using as a UI template, which is theme leaf. So which is a modern server-side Java template engine for both environments of standalone and the web. So where it does work with the HTML. So ThemeLeaf is able to process HTML, XML, JavaScript, even plain text also. So where it widely used with the Spring framework projects. So where here, if you're working with the Spring Boot, we require the dependencies, which is Spring Web, and then we require the Spring Data JPA, and then we require here the time leaf. So it is we require these particular features. And if you want the application should be repeatedly executing so that you can take in care of dev tools also, which is a developer tools, so that we will be configuring here. And we already have our entity, which is as a employee, or we may have any entity which we can be taken. And then we can have our repository, that is to do the job which is of CRUD operations. I am just keep on pressing. So that is repository, where either you can go with the type of paging and sorting repository or CRUD repository or JPA repository, any type of repository. Then we'll write a service, then we write a controller here. So this is a code which we are going to write. So here in the controller, you may have the return types, not a response entity, because now we are not giving a response, we are giving a view. So we are giving a view. So how will you configure this with that project? So that is in the controller, how you're writing your method. So that is, for suppose if you have some method which is any delete contacted by ID, or you are taking care of controller for basically I'm just taking some CRUD operation, create, edit and get all and get by ID. So normal CRUD operations which we are doing here. So for this, whenever you write a controller method, what are all the different components or the classes which we are going to use? We have one is called model and one more is model and view. So basically model will carry only the data. Model and view is a class which is responsible for data plus the view. What is the view which should be returning? So you can return the MV object in your controller. And where you want to do the creation job. So or you want to read the entire object. So whenever you want to read the entire object, so we will use here annotation, which is model attribute. Model attribute is annotation, so where to read the entire model data to the one form or to return it also. Or we can directly take only the model, and where you want to do the updation or getting by ID, so that is we'll use a path variable here as well. Almost your controller will be look same, but not exactly the same code which you are using. So because here you will be returning a string or model and view. Either your controller will return the model and view or the string. So for suppose if I want to return the list of objects, so that is how I will be returning here. So that is we'll take here public string, so that is get all, like I'll just take here the get all. So where this method is returning a string here, so we can take here the model, that is to save our data. We can take model dot add attribute, model dot add attribute, which takes the user the value, the name and the past values. So that is here the name I'm giving us here employees, and so with whatever the repository or the service which we have, like I'll take it as a e-service, e-service dot get all. So this method will return all the employees. This I'm storing into the name called employees, which is for model dot add attribute. Then we are returning here written, so I will just write here employees. So then it will look into what is the template which we have it for employees. As we are working on the theme life here, so it will look into the view which contains the employees. So where it will look into any page which contains a employees page. So then in that it will be taken care of what is the code which you want to display. So how theme life template engine will be used here. So like I'll just take here employees dot html, because it will be extension with html only. So we are using here the theme leaf tags. So that is for the html tag, we'll use the xml namespace, which is xml namespace. So what is the name which you want to give it? So that is, I want to give the namespace as th, or whatever you want to give, you can give it. General coding standard will use a th. And where the theme leaf libraries which are available, that we have to give it. So it will be like timelife.org. So that will be your HTML which you have written here. So how it will be differ from the normal HTML? Normal HTML is not a dynamic, but Themeleaf is a dynamic. So you may have a header, body, head, all the data can be present here. But how we are binding our data here? So we'll use the expression language. We'll use the expression language to take it. So that is, you want to have some text or the title should be displayed, which is present from the previous in your model or in your controller. If any data it's represented, and if you want to bind it, that whatever the tag you want to use it, like if I use a table, I can use whatever CSS we wanted, then TR. So how many TR you want to work with? So how many number of table row you want to get it? So how we are going to get the different table rows? So that is, we have the XML namespace which is called th. So which have a loop, which have a for loop statement. So that is here th colon each. So this is to get the multiple data, or it's kind of a for loop with respect to the theme life template. So then where we will be writing, it's like a for loop. What do you want to represent? I want to get it as a one employee. But what is my data? My data is employees. Model.add attribute store the employees. So then here the expression language will be written, which is dollar and then the employees here. So it will be considered, or this number of depends on number of employees you have, that many number of table row will be executed, that many number of table row will be executed. So then you want to write the td, so that write a td, and then you want to just give a link, or you want to just display it. So what you want to do it, so you want to only just display the data, so you can take it any tag which you want to display it, like paragraph tag, or for the td itself you want to represent. So th colon, so which have a variable that is to represent, that is to display it. We have uText. Utext is an attribute which evaluates its value expression and sets the result of this evaluation. So that is, it will check is the data is present or not, which is an attribute which evaluates its value expression. So th uText, and what is the data which you have it? Yes, we got it as an employee, but employee is an object. So in that, what is the field you have it? So that is in the double quotes. We write here employee dot first name. So or whatever the parameter you have it. So that we will be used to print it. So the same way, how many number of records you have, that many number of th should be repeatedly taken, that td you have to take it. So for suppose if I have the last name, or if I have date of birth, whatever the parameters you have it in your entity, so that data will be getting here. So then I want to do some here retrieval. Basically, if you are doing a CRUD operation, so I want to do retrieval, and with that, I want to allow for edit and the delete, so that I can take it here, TD, which is we have to provide here the link. So which is anchor tag. All the HTML tags, but to make the dynamic data to get it, we are using here the theme lift template. Okay, so which is with the HETH, which is to provide the H reference, that is to provide the link. So that is href. And what is the link you want to provide it? For the links here, we'll use @ So @ and whatever URL you want to write it. So for suppose employees, and I want to give a path parameter, which is employee ID, or whatever parameter you want to pass it. And after this, so you are doing a edit operation, you can give here edit operation, and what is the employee ID which you are going to pass for this, so that we will be providing here. So which is EID dollar. So we'll write here employee dot EID. So then to display for this, we will use a tag. So we'll give here edit, so that it will carry only your employee ID here. Same way, if you want to do some deletion, you can give here the deletion as well. So this way we will be going with respect to any type of UML templates. So that is with the theme lift, this is what you are going to do it. So where you want to do the retrieval, this is way you will be representing. Are you clear with this?
Yeah, how is this different from Angular or some other front end? I mean, it's just uh, what's the
No,
advantage
Angular
of using this thing? This
theme life you are using as your entire project as a one. In the Angular, you are giving as a REST service, and you are consuming and you are developing, right? But here in the same Spring Boot application itself, you are providing a UI. Instead of JSP, we are going with this way.
Okay.
Because here in the JSPs again, it's you have to customize it, like you have to write your TLD tags and all to be taken care. But instead of that, theme leaf is a one UI engine, so where you can be developed easily with HTML itself. It's a kind of JSP replacement, not for Angular, because Angular means you are consuming a REST application and you are populating, and there are two applications will be interacting. But here it's only a one application. It contains your backend and it contains your front end as well.
So it's more suitable for small applications.
Yes, where you may not going with the microservice applications, or you may not you don't need to develop only a backend application, where you want to make it as a simple applications to be developed with the front end, so that in that case we'll use a theme life.
Okay.
So this way the HTML will be written. Yeah, Kavya, you have any doubt?
No, Shweta.
Yeah. So where this is for retrieval, we'll be doing. If I want to do for the addition, so or I need a form. So how will you go with a form? So what is the tag you're using in a HTML? You will use a form tag itself. So you'll use a form tag. But here, what is the difference?
Shweta,
So that is, yeah.
actually, we are not very used to working in UI. So most of these HTML things we don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we mostly work in Java and Spring Boot in the backend. So we don't have much familiarity here.
Okay. So you want me to skip this, or what do you want me to do? Or in detail we want to go with?
Maybe this space is fine. We'll try to understand time leaf. Yeah,
Okay, I'll just make it simple way. Okay.
yeah,
So when
yeah.
I
You can
go
make
with
it better simple.
yeah, when you go with a HTML, no, so we'll use a HTML tag, and then we'll write it here, head tag, and then your body tag. Like if you want to write a table, we'll use a table tag, where table contains the two parts. One is first one is a T head, and which contains one table row. In one table row, you are making a TD, which is for heading, or TH for table heading. So like for example, here heading is employee ID. And I'm taking here employee name. So this is my simple HTML, okay, which have a body and the table, and which have a T head, and then in that we have a T body. So that is which will become a static data.
In normal HTML, we just use like H for heading, right? So whenever you're
Yeah.
using time lift, T is like by default prefixed, is it?
That is what is the name you are going to give it here. So like what is the XMLNS namespace you will give it here. This will be a kind of prefix. Whatever the prefix you will be giving here, that will be used for the dynamic data to getting.
Okay.
Okay, so just I'll make use simple. So that is, this is what I have written HTML. So that is TD. Just write here ID, which is 123, which should be part of TR. I just have one table row here. So same way, let me just keep some 3 table rows. Okay, this is my simple HTML file. So it is created the table and giving the values for us, right? But now we want this value should be dynamic. So already my data is present in my controller. This controller is having here the data. eService.getAll from the service we are getting and storing into one attribute called employees. Is this much is clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So now what we can do it, we don't want this data should be hard coded because I'm not sure how many number of table rows are there. Depends on my table, I should get it, right? So that what we will do it here for this, we require any dynamic templating should be required. So for the HTML tag, we will mention it here. We are going to work with XMLNS, which is XML namespace. Whatever the namespace you are giving, it is not only you have to give TH, you can give TT or you can give GH, you can give your name. What is the prefix you want to give it? That's what I have taken here, TH. And where this XML namespace, where these rules are given for this particular TH, that is in the website of .org. Are you clear with this line?
Yes.
Which is actually giving some namespaces with a prefix, that is what is the data which you want to access. So this is the website address, so where the XML namespace rules are given for this particular HTML. This theme leaf template we are importing to our HTML. So that's what we have done. So to work with any of this data now, so this T body or a TR, so if my employees contain 10, then it should be repeated 10 times. If my employee contains 1, then 1 employee should be present. For that, what is the functionalities of theme leaf we have to use it? The short and sweet or prefix name is TH. So that's what here we are writing TH. In the TH, we have the different methods. The first parameter which we have called each. Then in that, we want to get here the list of employees. To get it, we'll write here expression language employees or whatever the name you have written in your controller. Whatever you have written to model.addAttribute employees, that you have written here. So then that employees I have written here. But I want to access here employee ID, employee name one by one parameter. So it is a list of employees. Like how will you write a normal Java code? So let me just write it here. You will write for employee whatever the entity name you have, that emp, then you will write e colon, then here you will write a employee list which is es. This is what you will write it. So what this e will be doing, it will be a one object, it will be getting the data from this es, that is from employees, and one by one e will be taking, right? This is normal for loop, we are going to write it. So now what we want to do it here, so this employee should be getting one by one as like your normal for loop. we are storing in one variable called employee colon. Are you clear with this?
Yes.
Kavya?
Yeah, Shweta.
So as like your normal for loop, we are getting and storing into one variable. Okay. So this data you want to print it now. So whenever you want to just print it, so you if you are using like this, like the regular expression language and employee dot eid, or what is the parameter you have, which is I will just take a simple one, which is first name. This is the parameter, but it is a expression language which is allowed for the theme leaf. So that what we will write it here, td, which is th, to print the text and to validate it, we have a utext, which is again one method which is available in the theme leaf. So that is to print it. So we just written now here the employee first name. So this is what your td uth you have written. So the same way, if you want to keep some condition, like this is for a for loop. If you want to keep some condition, if you have some a or some span tag, so if you want to check it out some condition, we'll write th if condition. So you will write here if, and here you are going to write it whatever the condition you want to write it. So if is a one tag or one attribute, that is to check the condition, where each it will work like a for loop, and utext, that is to basically to print it. Same way, how much data you want to print it, that many um, that many tds you are going to write it, and that you are printing now. So are you clear with this, the tr and td?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's same like your for loop which you are writing. So that is, let me just take it here. So you're writing here for employee e colon employees. So here you're going to write your flower bracket, and you will write it here. So system.out.println statement or any Java statement to print it, which is e dot get employee ID, or you are calling here e dot eid or employee dot eid, because that is the name which you are writing, right? So this is the code which you have written in Java, which is equivalent to here. You are getting the dollar, which is of regular expression, which is expression language, employee colon, which is a dollar expression. We are writing here employees. So this employees will be taken here and stored into one employee. So employee is a one object, so which is a one row. In that row, for each column, what the data you wanted. So that is, we will use it here by using a dollar. So then the expression language, which is employee dot ename, or whatever the parameters you want to write it here. So what parameters you have, that you are going to print it like this. So that is where your employee is. So where inside of this, if you want to print any data,
to get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely.
whenever you just want to print the data. So in your UI template or in the theme leaf, we have a different functions or the tags or the attributes we call it. So which is if, each, and we have utext, which is just to print it, and so href, that is to provide a link. So all this are some of the tags which is available with respect to the UI template, which is your theme leaf. So are you clear now?
Yeah, Shweta.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I was explaining here. So that is from your controller. The controller, it you may take in for the method which is request mapping, for some request mapping, like for suppose if I give only slash, if you are sending a request which is called request mapping of a slash, so that you will take a model dot add attribute which is of all the employees will be getting and storing here. That is the same employees which we are going to display here. So if you want to give still more look and feel good, you can have a bootstrap or any css code can be added for this. Just took one example here. So it's entirely same code, but only here our controller is different, which is employee, and we see controller. So it is not a REST controller, it is a normal controller because it's have a view. So I have a two view templates in my SRC resources. You can see we have first application.properties, which have a H2 memory database and username password, and we have configured a dialect, and we have given console enabled as true, and H2 console I want to give my own path to access the in-memory database. So I've given a H2. By default, we will access with H2-console. Here I want to override that H2 console. So I've given this path. So this is what here we have written. And then we have a data.sql, so which is insert into table of employees, where first name, last name, email, and there are two records are inserting. So that is what my data.sql, and we have taken here table employees, where id, first name, last name, and the email. So this is the table structure which I have taken it here. So we have a employee entity which have a entity and the table. Table name is table of employees, and we have all the first name, last name, and the email. So all these properties which we have it here. And then we have a repository which have here the CRUD repository, employee entity, and the ID is like it's a type of long. So what is the employee entity, which is ID, which is long data type that we have given. And in the service, we have taken all the employee service implementations, which is of get all employees. It is returning all the employees. If result size is greater than 0, then it will return a result. Else, it will return array list of employee entity. So then we have a get employee by ID and create our update. We are checking if ID is equal to null, then it will do the save job. Like in the employee entity, we are using here the generated value, which is a Hibernate property. So that is in the Hibernate, if depends on which data type or which database you're using, you can generate the IDs. So here I have taken the generated value with strategy of generation type identity. For MySQL and for the H2, you are using identity. If you are going for Oracle, then it should be a sequence. Or if you don't know which database you are going to use it should be work for all. The generation type can be used as a auto. So auto will work with all the type of databases. We have sequence. This is to for Oracle, and if for MySQL or for your H2 database, we are using a identity. So this is a generated value which we have taken here. So then when you go here with your controller, So first in the controller, we are getting auto void of employee service, then service dot get all employees. But as we have to send the data of all the employees to our view, we are using here the model. So model is a specific interface that holder for the model settings. That is, it basically store, it's an interface, it will store your data. So that we are taking model dot add attribute, which is employees comma list. So that is whatever the employee list we are taking, that we are storing into one variable called employees, which is model dot add attribute. Then I'm return list employees. So as Spring Boot have a auto configuration, it have a theme leaf dependency. Like when you just go here to the dependencies, you have here theme leaf dependency. So based on the theme leaf starter, it will be looking okay. It should have only a templates. So in the SRC main resources, we have a templates. So where we have a HTML. So it will be written list hyphen employees. It will look for the view that dispatches servlet, which we have discussed in the previous session. So it will send the response or the send the request to list employees.html. In this HTML, so like whatever I have explained, so that I have, but I have some CSS link, that is the to give the UIs and all the icons. We have a font awesome. This we use it in Angular as well, or any web pages, which is font awesome, which is to take any icons. Like if you go here, fontawesome.com as a one website, so which use for your icons. Like if you go for here icons, see, these are all the icons which are available. So whichever icon you want to use it for, suppose if you want to get at the address book, you can just click on this address book. You will be getting here what is a CSS class which you want to use it. So this is the CSS class if you want this address book should be used. So FOSS FA address book. So if you use this icon, so that this icon will be coming to your application. For icons, we use a fontawesome.com. Then for the better look and feel, we'll use a Bootstrap. Bootstrap as a very popular CSS framework will be used here. So just linking to all external CSS, so that the CDNs we are using here. So that's what here the HTML or your page which we have written. Then XMLNS th of teamleaf.org, and then I have an entire page. That page I'm dividing into different pages, so as by using a division. So that is, if you take it here, this is a one whole web page. So this is one whole web page. You have something called MD and calls in the Bootstrap. How many number of columns you want to define it, so that many number of columns or rows you can divide your divisions. So for this we have taken the div class container, which is my2. So in the container we are dividing it two. So in that first division is a card, and the inside of that card we have a card body. That is, don't worry about all those things. So it's a Bootstrap CSS class names. Okay, so first we are taking a switch condition here and taking employees. So first we are providing the add button, that is h edit h reference of edit, and we are giving here add employee. And if there are no records present, we are taking the switch case th case. This is a switch case we are writing. If it is a null, then it will print a no record found. It is same like your Java switch case condition. Okay, th switch, which is taking our employees. If the case is null, then it is no records found. The next case is if records are present, so that is star we are using. So all the records we have to get it. So then some CSS tables we are used and head tr. So first table heading is given, first name, last name, email, edit and delete. So then in the tr, whatever the employees I have it. So but how it will be reached to this position in the employee MVC controller when you send the request mapping of slash. So when you send the request mapping of a slash, this method will be called, and here it will be get all the employees from your service, and the service will get from your repository, and repository will get from your database. So it will be stored the data in the variable called employees. That employees will be coming here, and that's stored in the employee, and this code I already explained to you in the notepad. So which is employee dot first name, last name, email, and we have to send ID to the path. So whenever you want to give it as a links, we'll use at the rate of the URL as given. With this URL, the path variable which we are passing as employee.id. So I want the edit icon. So this is the FA user edit, which is a font awesome link for the edit button. So that is what we are getting. Again, for the delete, I want the icon. So I'm using the delete also. So it's a HTML with the combination of UI. So which is of Bootstrap plus font awesome plus your theme life template. Are you clear with this?
Yeah.
Yes.
So first let me just execute and show, then I'll explain the form. Just configure for 8090. So whenever I have it in my data.sql, so you can see I already have a two employees which is to insert. So that is, it is inserted here. Okay, so instead of give a edit and delete as a name, I want this icon should be taken. So that is from the font awesome here. So like if you just go for edit, so you can see different edit icons are there. So I just picked one here. Okay, so you have lot more icons. Okay, so in that one icon which I have used here, which is of edit. Okay, so the same way for delete also. So that is here, and we have here in the div just for add employee. So that is what here my UI. So for this buttons we have used a font awesome. For the CSS we have used the Bootstrap. So this is what here my list employees.html which I have written it. So whenever I clicked on the link which is called delete, if you see it is going and searching for delete and the ID. It is passing in the path variable as a ID. To the ID we are sending employee.id. Where is my delete link, which is again in the employee controller. If you see in the employee controller, we have one request mapping which is for deletion here. You can see for deletion, which is delete employee by ID. For that we are sending a model, and we are setting here the, I guess here does not require a model. Yeah, so I'm just using a path variable which is with ID and the long ID. So whatever the delete ID, whenever you just click on a delete, will come here. It will do service dot delete employee by ID. So to redirect it, so that is here, whenever I just delete this, it should be redirected to the same page. So what is the URL of this page, which is slash localhost 8090. So for this we have used here written redirect colon slash. Redirect is a keyword that this is for redirection of your page itself. So redirect colon and the slash, so that it's do the redirecting to the slash in the control or in your application. So that is for this request mapping, which is a slash, so it will again return to the list of employees. It will again call the list of employees which is present, and it will be given here. So that is what here your delete operation. So whenever you clicked on a edit, what is the job which is happening? Here you are passing a ID. So whenever I go for a edit, so this method I can I can configure multiple paths for a single request mapping. I'm using edit and edit ID. So if I'm sending edit slash ID, still this one will be called. If I pass this also, it will be called the same method. If you see in your list employees, so here we are sending edit slash ID. And if you see just for add employee, so for a add employee, we are just sending a link edit. So multiple path can be configured for a one MVC controller. So for a one request mapping, we configured this. So where we are passing here a model and the path variable. So where if you see, whenever I clicked on a edit, I want to get here the path which is one, and it should get what is the data which is present in your DB. So how I will be getting this data? And if I just click on a add employee, same form should come but without any data. So that is what is the difference. Here, if you pass a ID, we want to get edit. If I'm not passing a ID, then it should be add. So that is, we are writing a condition if ID we have taken as a type of optional. So because if it is present or not present, so we are going with optional. So if ID is present, then this part should execute, else this part should execute it. So if you're not passing ID, which is a add, for the add, you want to get the page which is empty, but the object should be created, but the value should not be present. For that, model.add attribute, we are creating the empty object, which is new employee entity, and storing in a variable called employee, storing the model.add attribute. So after that, if ID is present, that ID we are passing to the get employee by ID and getting a whole object, and that also we are passed to employee object. Either if ID is present or if ID is not present. So this way we are getting here. So if any one condition is executed, then it will return add edit employee. But where we have a add edit employee, it will look for the template which is add edit employee, so that we have a add edit employee dot html. So which is again the same code, which is we have taken the theme leaf org, and we have here the text boxes. So whenever you want here the text boxes with the HTML, so what we will be writing here, we'll be writing the form tag. We'll write the form. Inside the form, we'll write a labels, that is to print it, that is to display, and then we have a input type. We can take it whatever the type you want to take it, either text box or any type of a input which we are taking. And when you want to submit, or the buttons you wanted, we can go with input type submit, which is a button. So that is to submit the data. For the form, whenever this button is submitted, where this data should go, so for that we have one property. For that we have one form action, so which is whatever the request mapping which you have it, whatever the request mapping which you have, that request mapping here which you have to send it. Request mapping should be present here. Okay, that's what the action which you are writing here. So the same code, if you go with here the theme lift, what we are doing, so that is form action. We are not sending any action because we have to send the theme leaf action. So that th dot action, and we are sending create employee. So whenever you go with a h reference or action, it should be at the rate. So whatever the request mapping you want to send it, that request mapping, and with this we have to pass the whole employee object. What is the employee object? So that is, you can see in the employee MVC controller, we have an object which is called employee, either in the edit or in the add. In both the ways, you have to maintain a same name. So that employee here we have taken, which is th of object, and the method which is sending a type as a post. That's what the form action we have written. Then inside of that, we created some just one row. In one row, we have a number of columns. So that is here, we have taken here the label and the input type text. So where for the input, we will be, if you want to take it as a value, then we will take it th colon field. The field is a property to read the value. So the name of a property is first name, the last name. For the text boxes to bind the value, we'll use a star. So whenever you want to display it, you will use a dollar. Whenever you want to give the links, we'll use a at the rate. When you want to display it or you want to read the value from the text boxes, then we'll use a star. So star and the first name. So first name and then last name and the email. All the three values we are reading, and we have a input type submit, which is a button type of primary. And ID, I don't want to show it because ID will be auto generated. It should be in the hidden. So that's why input type hidden and the th field of ID. So it will be hidden. So this is what which we have written here. So that is a HTML template which we have written, and where you are just entering here what the details you wanted. So then when you submit, these values will be binded with your employee object and data will be come here. And when you click on a edit, so the same data will be fetching and keeping to your data. So why? Because we have written the same values, that is th field of first name, th field of last name with the employee which you have it. So this is the object which you are mapping to your form. One form we are mapping with a one object. So this way the theme life application will be developed. So you want some drop downs and all, then we have a select boxes for the drop down. Or if you want some radio buttons, we have input type as a radio. So, or you can have a check boxes. So different HTML boxes are available that you can use it with the theme life. So this way we will be going with respect to Spring Boot web application as a whole. So here we have a UI and it's a one entire application. If you're not going with any microservices, or for if you're going with monolithic architecture, so as a one application you want to develop, so then by using a theme like we can develop easily or with a faster way. So are you clear with this? Not sure how much you are clear because as you don't have any UI background.
Yeah, I think we
Uh,
understood this one.
how do we package
You
this
understood?
application?
Sorry,
How
we'll
do we
make it as a
package
warframe.
this?
So that is,
Okay.
yeah, we will run as, one second, what is the packaging which we have mentioned here? Okay, we can go and run it here.
So it's just basically a Java application which can be run on any JVM.
Or we can make it as a var file, export it as a var file. I'm making here Spring Web MVC and destination where I want to go. I'll just make it to my desktop. If you want to attach or you for which specific server you want it, I have Apache Tomcat, so I'm just using for Apache Tomcat. If any new version, you can override the existing files and we'll just finish it. So it will be getting a var file. So where is my, yeah, this is my var file now. This var file you can deploy it on any server. Like I have here Apache Tomcat. I will host it here. So I'll add a var file, then I can start my application server because it's a web application. No? And as it is a Spring Boot application, you don't need to deploy it also because it inbuilt have a Apache Tomcat. So you can just run it as a normal Java application also. Java-jar. You can make it as a jar file, export it as a jar file and run also.
Okay.
Yeah, like your export. So you want client jar file or runnable jar file so that you can select it here. Jar file. Okay. What is my application? Demo application. Why it is not showing? Launch. No, demo Spring is something else. Why I'm not getting demo application? I'm just seeing here. So like this, you can have a generate a jar file and then you can use it. Or in the Maven or Gradle, you can configure the packaging you want it as a jar file. Like here where we'll mention packaging as a jar. We'll go to Maven. We'll go to run as and we'll take it here. Maven build. If it's a Gradle, we'll go with Gradle build. And here the goals are clean and install. This is same for Gradle as well. Clean install. So I'll just apply and run.
Please enroll our general membership for $3.99 plan to get access of all the parts.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $3.99 plan and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.